Next journal is the cash disbursements journal, which records what type of transaction? Checks. We're also going to combine it with the purchases journal because Barry's doesn't buy much on credit. He's got one vendor. One vendor gives him all of the gas that he needs, okay? And that's his only vendor. Everything else he pays cash for. And so we're just going to combine the two rather than set up a separate purchases journal just for that one entry once a month, okay? Now let's go ahead and enter in the first check. The date of it is October 8th. Check number or reference is 1001. And the description is Husky Oil. First thing we need to do is get some gasoline in those tanks, okay? So we're going to credit the bank account for the amount of the check of $9,800. Credits are on the left in this journal. And we're going to debit gasoline inventory, $9,800. Does that balance? We're done with that check, okay? Let's do the next one together. The date is October 8th. The check number is 1002, also written Husky Oil. But instead of gasoline, we're buying here some supplies for the shop. So we look on the left-hand side, we're going to credit the bank account for $60. What account are we going to debit it to? Shop supplies expense. We're consuming these shop supplies, so what account number is it? Account 752. So in the right-hand miscellaneous columns, we're going to debit account 752 for $60. Now, let me say this too on these checks. Down at the bottom of the miscellaneous section, you'll see what's called a recap that we've provided. Down the bottom right-hand corner of this journal. Do you see it? It says miscellaneous reconciliation. And down there, when you're going through the process of totaling these columns up, I want you to total all the entries to count 752 and put the total to the right of that. Now, the reason for doing that is when we get to the posting process, if you don't recap them down at the bottom, you're going to have to enter each miscellaneous line or entry separately to the general ledger. Might you have 5 checks all to account 752? And you would have to make 5 entries into the general ledger. When you do a recap, you only have to make 1. But make sure the total of the miscellaneous columns, all the different entries in miscellaneous, adds up to the total of the recap so that you didn't miss something in the process. If you miss something in the recap, are you going to balance in the general ledger? No, so you got to make sure the recap picks them all up. So that's the purpose for having it down there. Go ahead now and record the remaining checks. And then, one other thought, I want you to take a shot at the purchase order at the bottom. Now, the purchase order is the only one that's outstanding. In other words, we have paid for everything else. There is one shipment of gasoline that we have not yet paid for. And it's worth $5,800. So we owe Husky Oil $5,800, right? So are we going to credit the bank for $5,800? What account are we going to credit? Accounts payable. So on the left-hand side of this journal, the credit side of the journal, in the miscellaneous columns, we're going to credit accounts payable for $5,800. What are we going to debit on the right-hand side of this journal? What are we getting? Gasoline inventory. So we're going to debit gasoline inventory on the right-hand side. So when you get down that purchase order, include that before you total the journals. Go ahead now and complete this journal.
You'll record checks and purchase orders in the cash disbursement and purchase journal. Enter the remaining entries into the journal, including the one purchase order, then total the columns and balance the journal. Check your answers on appendix page 8.14, then start the video.